Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Got a video here to show you, and we'll discuss it afterwards.
Footage has emerged of Ghislaine Maxwell walking around the courtyard of the prison where she is serving a 20-plus year sentence for engaging in sex trafficking unless she is granted a retrial. She's made a major move to get that retrial yesterday. I'll talk to you about that. That is as Donald Trump has basically given her a golden ticket to get that retrial by claiming that the Department of Justice and FBI file of Jeffrey Epstein was a massive hoax created by, Donald Trump says Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and James Comey. Donald Trump repeated that yesterday, again, further giving Ghislaine Maxwell that golden ticket. Her family is now speaking out on her behalf, demanding a retrial, demanding a pardon. We're going to talk about that. Now, the footage of Ghislaine Maxwell walking around that prison courtyard emerged at the same time we learned new details about the video surveillance footage outside of Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell before he died, being manipulated by the Department of Justice and FBI. Now, we previously reported, it was Wired who first broke the story, how the footage seemed to have been created or merged together or manipulated using the Adobe Premiere software, where it's much worse than that based on Wired's new report. Now, also a lot of Ghislaine Maxwell's surrogates who are very close to Donald Trump, including Donald Trump's own former lawyer, are now all pushing for Ghislaine Maxwell to get a pardon or a retrial. Let me tie this all together, folks, of what's going down. So you saw there Ghislaine Maxwell walking around the prison yesterday. Now, her family put out the following statement. Let me read it for you. Now, this statement is directly linked to Donald Trump's statement that the Epstein list and the Epstein files is a Democrat hoax, Donald Trump said, created by Clinton, Obama, and James Comey. Thus, the family argues, and Ghislaine argues exactly what I said. If it's a hoax, then why'd you prosecute her for being a co-conspirator in a sex trafficking ring if you're claiming that it never existed? In fact, the president of the United States, who controls the DOJ and FBI, is saying he's seen the files and it's all fake. It's all a hoax. He repeated that yesterday on the tarmac in Maryland. All right, here's the statement from the Maxwell family. Our sister Ghislaine did not receive a fair trial. Her legal team continues to fight her case in the courts and will file its reply in short order to the government's opposition in the United States Supreme Court. Pause. In other words, Ghislaine is going right back to the Supreme Court based on what Donald Trump has just said. If necessary in due course, they will also file a writ of habeas corpus in the U.S. District Court SDNY. Remember what I said 2 days ago? I said she's going to seek a writ of habeas corpus now because of what Donald Trump said. New evidence. Donald Trump says the FBI and DOJ were involved in a hoax regarding the Epstein files. She's going to have a very good case for a retrial and may get off on that basis. I think she has a good, just think about it. She's going to say the president of the United States who's seen the files says it's all a fake. That's what she's, I didn't have that information available to me during the first trial. That's what she's going to argue. She goes on to say, this allows her to challenge her imprisonment on the basis of new evidence, such as government misconduct that would have likely changed the trial's outcome. When they're saying government misconduct, she's saying hoax. That Donald Trump said this was all made up by the FBI and DOJ. And he said he's seen the files. Following the government's response, David Oscar Marcus, counsel of record for our sister, in her petition to the United States Supreme Court, had this comment. I'd be surprised if President knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise the U.S. government made and broke. These are the sentiments with which we profoundly concur. The deal they're referring to was the 2007-2008 non-prosecution agreement for Epstein and Epstein's co-conspirators that was entered into by Alex Acosta, Donald Trump's labor secretary, during his first term. And it said that Epstein and all co-conspirators cannot be prosecuted in this district and any other district in the United States. Now, in Ghislaine Maxwell's case, the district court for the Southern District of New York said, we can't be bound by what a district court or what a deal was made in the Southern District of Florida. That doesn't apply to the Southern District of New York. That's how they got around it and prosecuted Epstein and Ghislaine, despite the fact that Alex Acosta, who was the Southern District of Florida U.S. attorney, entered the deal that bound all of the districts. So that's what they mean by a deal. That's what she's arguing to the United States Supreme Court. And you see what she's saying to Donald Trump, a direct message to him after, and she's saying, hey, you see what they're doing to him? They're giving Trump the roadmap. Just say this is a deal, Donald. Just say you're a deal maker. People will understand that you got to go by your deals, right, Donald? Or, right, or we're going to go and make a government misconduct habeas corpus writ in the district court now and say, based on what Donald Trump said, it should be overturned. So how do you want to play it, Donald? And again, go back to the video I did when Donald Trump made that post. I said word for word, essentially, that was going to be the strategy. And that's exactly what they are doing right there. Now, as I mentioned, that first video footage that you saw of Ghislaine Maxwell walking the courtyard is coming out at the same time that we've learned about how the DOJ and FBI has manipulated surveillance footage of Epstein right before Epstein died. Now, I want you to think about that too. In the writ of habeas corpus filed by Ghislaine, she's going to say, and not only that, I have evidence that the DOJ and FBI have manipulated tapes. Look what they've done recently. They're manipulating evidence. New from Wired, hat tip to Wired, great reporting. Metadata from the raw Epstein prison video shows approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed from one of the 2 stitched together clips. The cut starts right at the missing minute. So we just thought it was 1 minute manipulated. Now we learned actually 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed. The FBI's Jeffrey Epstein prison video had nearly 3 minutes cut out. Metadata from the raw Epstein video shows. Newly uncovered metadata reveals that nearly 3 minutes of footage were cut from what the U.S. Department of Justice and FBI described as full raw surveillance video from the only functioning camera near Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell the night before he was found dead. The video was released last week as part of the Trump's commitment to say we're going to get the stuff out. Wired previously reported that the video had been stitched together in Adobe Premiere Pro from 2 video files contradicting the Justice Department's claim that it was raw footage. Now, further analysis shows that one of the source clips was approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds longer than the segment included in the final video, indicating that footage appears to have been trimmed before release. It's unclear what, if anything, the minutes cut from the first clip showed. Now, you could be saying this was done recklessly or incompetently. This was done maliciously to cover something up. But just think about it. Now that they're manipulating video footage, they give her another argument to make in her habeas corpus petition for a retrial. Look, we found out they're manipulating video footage. How are they going to now try to justify that? Now, let me show you the moment yesterday where Donald Trump doubled down on these statements that he previously made over the weekend, saying that this is all a hoax, an Obama, Clinton type of hoax. So the first clip I'm going to show you right here is Donald Trump saying, I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's boring stuff, right? So by saying that, Donald Trump is admitting that he's seen the files. It's boring stuff, he says. I've looked at it. You don't need to see it. Here, play this clip.
I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story?
I don't understand
about how it's been handled.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
You tie that with what he says earlier in the day yesterday, where he says it's a hoax. It's an Obama, Clinton, Biden hoax, like Russia, he says. Here, play this clip.
Did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, you know, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
By the way, did you also notice who was by Donald Trump's side in the first clip that I showed? Yes, Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's commerce secretary. Now, Howard Lutnick, who was laughing it up while Donald Trump said that the Epstein files involving sex trafficking rings was boring stuff, who's laughing it up. He was Epstein's neighbor, and he lived in one of his previous homes as well. So he lived right there next to Epstein and lived in one of his previous homes. Do you see how incestuous this world is right here of all of these people knowing each other? Now you have also Ghislaine Maxwell's influencers who are very close to Trump. The Trump influencers and the Ghislaine Maxwell influencers, if you were to do those concentric circles, they meet right in the middle. Jessica Reed Krause, for example, she's a big fan of Ghislaine Maxwell. She wears the free Ghislaine Maxwell gear. She's got that VIP access to the White House. She was one of the people holding up the binders, the Epstein Phase 1 binders, big proponent of Ghislaine Maxwell getting pardons, and she's very, very close to Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. She goes, I'll be pushing for a retrial or a pardon until it happens, especially in light of recent news. Everyone should wonder why one woman is serving 20 years for trafficking minors to no one. And when she says to no one, she's using Donald Trump's own words. When Donald Trump said it's all a hoax, hence no one. That's how Donald Trump gave a golden ticket. And you see how Ghislaine's family is putting out that statement. Lady Victoria Hervey in Trump's orbit, VIP at Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster. You see her right here next to Kash Patel, next to Donald Trump. She goes, keep in mind, there was no trafficking, no clients, only innocent victims who were extorted for money by corrupt attorneys. Now you have Donald Trump's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, who was also Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer. He's now saying there was no client list after he said there was a client list. So over the weekend, he said, yep, I know about the names. Technically he didn't say there was a client list. He said, I knew that there was all these powerful people and people are being covered up for. Here's what he said over the weekend.
Let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them.
And then he changed his tune, and he's previously called for Ghislaine Maxwell to be pardoned. He said over here, it's not the Trump administration. He goes, there is no list right here. There's no client list. Watch what he has to say. Here, play this clip.
Is the government hiding a client list or anything that the Trump administration could release tonight?
No, there is no client list. There never has been a client list. A client list suggests that Jeffrey Epstein made a list of people to whom he trafficked women. What there is a redacted FBI affidavit from accusers, and there are several of them, from accusers that accuse that accuse various people of having improper sex, and that has been redacted. The names of the people accused have been blacked out. Now, of course, because I was the lawyer and I did only investigations, I know who all these people are. I could figure out, based on everything that I saw, who Mr. X is, Mr. Y is, and Mr. Z. I can tell you right now, none of them are public figures who are currently in office. Some of them were previously in office. Some of them are dead.
Now, it should also be noted that in 1997, Dershowitz wrote a column defending statutory rape. He said that it's an outdated concept. And then he said recently in 2019, I stand by the constitutional argument I offered in my controversial op-ed. If a 16-year-old has the constitutional right to have an abortion without a state or parental interference, how could she not have the constitutional right to engage in consensual sex? Then he goes, it is obvious that there must be criminal sanctions against sex with very young children, but it is doubtful whether such sanctions should apply to teenagers above the age of puberty, since voluntary sex is so common in their age group. In other words, he's saying the age of consent should be shortly after a girl goes through puberty right there. Now, I want to remind you as well that Ghislaine Maxwell recently gave a phone interview. And I want to share you that moment from the phone interview she gave about 2 years ago, where she was asked by a great interview with this reporter, do you believe that Epstein committed suicide? And she says, no, I believe that he was killed. Here, let's play this clip right here.
Do you believe that he committed suicide? Because many don't.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered.
Now, part of what I believe is going on behind the scenes, too, is that now they're going to try to appoint Matt Gaetz as a special counsel to investigate, and Matt Gaetz with his own issues, to investigate what happened with the files and then try to delay this and string this out. Lauren Boebert, MAGA Republican congressman with Benny Johnson, the MAGA Republican influencer, laid out that plan. Let's play it.
And maybe that takes that special counsel to do so. Maybe Matt Gaetz can lead the special counsel.
Would you vote in favor of that?
Absolutely. Yes. Matt spoke highly of Pam Bondi and saying, that she's the best attorney general that President Trump has had. But yeah, Matt Gaetz as a special counsel, absolutely.
Now, you also had MAGA Republican Senator Eric Schmidt, who previously posted on February 26th a siren emoji saying, I'm so excited that the Epstein list, the logs are going to be released. He's now changed his tune and thinks that nothing should be released. Here, let's play that clip as well.
I just asked because you posted, for example, on February 26th, a siren emoji, and you wrote Epstein logs to be released tomorrow. Thanks, Pam Bondi. What was released, the right-wing influencers that were given it said it was nothing new. They were very upset about it. Do you believe enough information has been shared on this matter?
Look, I mean, people are rightfully curious about this. I know I am, still am, of course. But when you're a prosecutor and you're looking at information, sensitive information that, whether you have enough evidence or not to move forward, that's a different equation than sort of political speculation that's happening right now.
So that sounds like you don't think more should be released.
Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know what she's looking at, what can be released. If something can be released, I'd love to see it. But again, when you're conducting a criminal investigation, it's a little bit different kind of scenario. So again, not knowing what she's looking at, it's just difficult to opine. And sometimes I think the best answer here is I just don't know.
Are you surprised by how upset the MAGA base has been over this?
No, I think that people feel like the government has lied to them on multiple occasions before. I certainly understand that. And in many ways, this election cycle was about the disruptors versus the establishment. So I understand the sentiment, but that doesn't have, necessarily with this individual circumstance as far as what Pam Bondi was looking at or what the FBI was looking at, whether or not there's enough evidence to move forward. I just don't know that.
Okay. But you think if it can be released, it should be released.
And so we'll keep you posted every step of the way, but those developments, we predicted it here on the Midas Touch Network. Ghislaine's family doing exactly what I thought they were going to do after Donald Trump said it's all a hoax. So as a result of what Donald Trump did, she may walk and bury the list and bury the files. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Well, look, Trump is pissed. He's mad that everybody's focused too much on this Jeffrey Epstein scandal, okay? And he's calling his supporters weaklings and idiots and whatever, okay? Here's the thing. The more he protests, the more he tries to say there's nothing behind the curtain, the more people think there is. The more people think, yeah, he's got something to hide. All right? And like I said, you know, in a previous video, this country does not like pedophiles. All right? And nor should we. It's wrong. And we have an epidemic of that crap going on in this country, and it's pissing people off. But to have this epidemic of pedophilia going on and now possibly inserted into the White House is more than a lot of people who consider themselves Christian can stand. And they want to know. They want a goddamn 100% clear fucking with evidence now, because I don't think people really trust them as much as they thought they did. You know, I think people really despise them. They want some goddamn clarity, so that way people can stop sticking their necks out on the line hoping they're right. Because up to now, Trump hasn't really given them any reason to think that this has nothing to do with them. So, like I said, we have a problem here, folks. We got a problem, and here's an angle here to this thing. Let's not kid ourselves. Ghislaine Maxwell is a criminal, okay? She facilitated Jeffrey Epstein's lust for young people, okay? Underage girls and stuff, to have sex with people. She is guilty of that. But because Trump opened his big fucking mouth and said that the evidence that convicted her was all fabricated by, you know, his boogeymen there, Obama, Clinton, and, you know, whatever. Now she has grounds to go to the Supreme Court and say, I want a new trial. I want, you know, this, because, hey, the President of the United States, you can't get any higher authority than that, says that my evidence that convicted me is crap. Okay? Anybody would do that in her position. Even though she's guilty, Trump opened the door for her, you know, while he was trying to cover his own ass. He actually inadvertently uncovered hers, you know, and now she can walk out of prison. Maybe she can walk out and be back out on the fucking streets, you know. And that's going to be a bittersweet thing to swallow for all the victims of Ghislaine and Epstein, to see that she's back out of prison or something if that happens, okay? That's going to be a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also a bitter pill to swallow knowing that a man who possibly was involved in that fucking sex trafficking ring is now sitting in the White House, okay? A criminal got by the justice system, and he's in the fucking White House. Now, MAGA finds that very distasteful. If they're convinced that it's true, they would have a very, very difficult time swallowing that pill. Okay, they'd have a very difficult time, because that would put into question everything they've said about this man in defense of him. That would put into question everything they say they stand for, which would be put into question, because now they would be looked at as the biggest fools ever to walk the earth. Okay. Which I already think they are anyway, but they would start to see themselves as the biggest fools that ever walked the earth. That somebody like Donald Trump pulled the wool over their eyes, okay, and got himself in the White House and started doing things contrary to what he said he would do as president, okay? Everything that the Democrats were saying he was going to do will happen, and MAGA will be... you know, and they've already suffered tremendously here under Trump. But, you know, there's already people that have already given up on Trump in MAGA, okay? So the numbers of his supporters are dwindling. And the anger level against Trump is rising. So, you know, in a couple of months from now, the approval number in the Republican Party of Donald Trump is going to diminish. Okay, it may. The last time it was checked was like at 63%, but I dare say that's gonna go down by at least 5%, if not more, in the next couple of months. Okay, especially as this Jeffrey Epstein thing continues, because look, nobody is going to shut up about this until we get answers. Okay, this is in the court of public opinion now, and Trump has no fucking authority over that. You can tell and scream at people to shut up, and he can insult people all he wants. It's not gonna quiet anything. And if that's the story that the people want to hear, that's where the media is going to go, right? The press is going to cover that. Even Fox News is going to cover that. So Trump opened up a big Pandora's box here that he's trying to close, and it ain't closing, because he's got everybody's ire up. He's got everybody wanting to talk about it, because the more Pam Bondi talks, the more Donald Trump talks, the worse he looks. So, and then there's a photograph of Epstein, Trump, and young Bondi at Mar-a-Lago, at one of those little parties that they had down there where the clients would get sexual favors from these underage girls. So that shows that Pam Bondi's got something to lose in this too. Maybe her name is on that fucking list. You know, hey, it's possible. You know, I'm just saying that, you know, a criminal will surround himself with fellow criminals because they're like-minded, and they all are going to cover each other's ass to a point. Okay, but hey, you take a look at all the people that he's appointed to jobs in his administration, and every one of them's got a past shadier than hell. Okay, every one of them. And so, like I said, that's what a criminal does. They surround themselves with other criminals. But what's that saying about, you know, thieves have no honor or something like that? Okay, you can't trust each other. You can't. They can't trust each other. And Trump is going to quickly find himself out in the middle of the cold, because MAGA is starting to turn their back on him. They're actually attacking him now in video posts online. Some of the what do you call them? The head commentators there for the Republican MAGA whatever party, they're out there getting pissed at him. They want fucking answers, and so does everybody else, for that matter. We all want answers. We want this fucking matter closed. We don't want to go through our rest of our lives wondering. Okay? People don't like that. You either give us a goddamn answer that we can trust is true. Okay? You know, because look, Trump's credibility is kind of shot to pieces at this point. People are going to double check everything he says. And they're always going to keep in the back of their mind, is he lying? That's what happens when you lie all the fucking time. You create this web. As a friend of mine had quoted to me, you know, what a deadly web we weave when we practice at first to deceive. Okay, Trump has done that. He's made the biggest web and boxed himself into a corner now, and now he's got, you know, no way out, essentially. And at the same time, he's getting mad at everybody else for not trying to help him get out of this web. And like I said, nobody wants to help a potential pedophile get away with what he did. So, I don't know what to say, you know, other than, you know, what I just already said. But this was completely avoidable. This whole debacle, this whole position we are right now in this country was completely avoidable. We weren't forced into this. Understand that. We were not forced into this position we are now. We chose to go down this road as a country. We chose to do this because we thought the alternative would be worse. Well, despite arguments to the contrary, America made that choice. And so we shot ourselves in the foot. So for the people that are suffering, for the immigrants that have been deported, for the chaos that's created in parts of our country, we are responsible, not just Trump, all of us, okay? Even those of us who were for Kamala Harris, we're all responsible for this because we didn't do the best job of trying to convince Americans that Trump was a bad apple. Okay, we didn't do the best job of it. Too many people didn't want to hear it. But the media wasn't totally behind that narrative either. Okay, so there's blame enough to go around here that America as a whole let this kind of happen. There was a lot of Democrats who did not vote. Some 7-8 million Democrats did not vote. That could have decided the fate of what the country is today. Okay, so we're all part of the problem here. Yeah, Trump's the guy in the White House, but he wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the election, right? So, like I said, we all share the blame, and we didn't have to be here. But now that we are here, and Trump has exposed his weakness, and that being this Achilles heel concerning Jeffrey Epstein, we have an opportunity here to possibly right a wrong. You know, we could continue to push this to the exclusion of all else in order to get him removed from office, or to at least force him out by resignation or whatever. We shouldn't give him any more rope than he's already been given by us. I mean, we've given him how many months now? I mean, 6 months, 7 months. We've given him all this time already, you know, to prove that he was going to do what he did. And what has he done? He's made the speediest decline of this country in 6 months than any president in U.S. history. All right, that's enough right there to convince me the guy was not there for us. And still to this day, he'll go around saying, "Oh, we got a strong economy, everything's great." He's going around selling a lie again, like he always does. He always tells you the opposite. Last year, the country is the worst country on the planet and everything, okay? And that wasn't true. It wasn't true then, okay? And now that he's the president, now the country is the best country on the planet. We're strong. You see what I'm saying about this fucking guy? When it suits him, he will tell you what he wants you to hear. The country is suffering, he knows it, but he doesn't want you to keep dwelling on that and thinking about it, because that makes him look unpopular. You know, and he can't stand that other people knew this about him and he's proving them right. Okay? He's proving everybody right. Every time something happens, something bad happens, okay, he's proving our point. He's proving every Democrat was right what they said about him last year. All right, and that's, and you know, and I don't think he can stand it. I really don't think he can live with the fact that, you know, everything he's done, Kamala predicted would happen. She said in 6 months, if he wins the presidency, we would be at war, and what happened in Israel? Okay? We bombed Iran in 6 months. I mean, Christ, she couldn't have been any more of a prophetic than that. I mean, Christ. She knew this guy. She knew what he was like. She kept telling us during the debate, you know, what he's doing. But now everybody's saying, oh, she's just attacking him, you know, slinging mud. No. She was telling us exactly what this guy was. She was warning us. All right? And even some Republicans who left the party and joined up with her were also saying the same thing, and you still wouldn't listen. So this cultish mentality, now you're going to learn what the downside is to a cult really fast. Because if you pick the wrong guy to stand behind, to build your cult around, he's going to take you down with him. And folks, he's going down. He's going to take as many Americans as he's can take with him, but he's going down. And I don't know if it's going to rest solely on this Jeffrey Epstein scandal, or if it's going to be something else new that comes up down the road. I don't know what it is. But he's incapable of surviving any of these things, because mentally he's falling apart. His cabinet is less than fucking honest about anything. Nobody believes anything they say, okay? His administration is weak, all right? He's not a very good example for the others to follow. They look to him every time something happens because they can't think for themselves. They don't know what to do. They can't even manage their own jobs. They have to take their cues from him, from a sick mind. So a sick mind tells a bunch of people with no mind what to do, what do you got? You got chaos. And that's what we're seeing today. All right, that's what we are seeing today, and it's sad that this is happening. But I know I keep coming back to this thing and saying people disappoint all the time. If there is a wrong path to take in life, people often do that first before they do the right thing. Okay, and in this case, the wrong path was putting Trump back in office. It was too hopeful that we would have somebody different as president. Okay, it was too hopeful because a lot of people today, they don't believe in positivity or hopefulness anymore. Okay, they don't think that. A lot of the people that voted grew up after 9/11, and I remember how hopeless all those years were after that. How scared people were in this country. Okay, and we had children grow up in that period. So they don't know positivity. They don't know a healthy government. They don't know what a good country is like. So naturally, it's easy for them to fall into the trap of, going with what's entertaining, which Trump was. And he says all these nasty things, okay? It was easy to fall behind a guy like that for people who don't think this country could do better. When they saw Kamala Harris talking, they thought she was lying to them because nobody's like that. Nobody can be that positive. Nobody can have love for this country. Who the hell are you kidding? You see what I'm saying? Cynicism took over because there's very few people left today who think that there is a politician out there who really does have that sense of integrity and compassion for the country and the people living in it. All right? Nobody can believe that because they have never seen that happen. They never seen it happen. And I don't think they believed it of Joe Biden, despite, his accomplishments. Nobody bothers to really review what he's done and what he tried to do because they don't believe that he was actually trying to be a good president either. So the young people today just grew up thinking that there is no such thing as a JFK or whatever, like they just think that's just a fantasy. They got no sense of pride in their country anymore. They don't care about any accomplishments. They don't care about leading the world on anything anymore. They don't think it can happen. You see, because they didn't get a chance to see when this country was doing that. When we had that example, and so they think the worst of us. And oddly enough, the only people in the world today who can still kind of talk good about this country are people who are not American. Okay, I talk to people all the time from other countries, and they seem more disappointed in us than we are in ourselves because they remember America being great. Okay, they remember the great things we did and stuff, and they were always hopeful that this country would always be a beacon of light to where the rest of the world should go. But now they see that we've allowed corruption to take over our institutions, and now it's all up for grabs now. I mean, we don't know what the hell kind of country we're going to have, and then tomorrow we don't even know what we're going to have. We don't know what's going to happen. Okay, there was a bombing here a few hours ago. Where the hell was it? Over in the Middle East somewhere. Okay, it's got everybody all on nerves right now. You see how when this country falls, the rest of the world destabilizes because they see that we're not the powerhouse anymore to try to foster peace. We're actually at war with ourselves, so everybody else can pretty much do what the hell they want, and nobody cares what the United States thinks. So you see how one man can make a difference, good or bad. Maybe that's why, and I know this is kind of way off straight here, but maybe this is why that Superman movie didn't do so hot with a lot of people, is because it follows that narrative of how one man can make a difference in a world today where nobody believes that anymore. But we're seeing right now how one man can make a disaster. And elections have consequences, and I hope that fucking resonates resonates more than anything else. Because from now on, people, when you vote, make sure you vet these motherfuckers and you understand who they are. Don't listen to other people. You do your fucking homework. You do your homework and check these fuckers out. Okay? And listen to your bullshit filter. Don't follow somebody because they happen to be a Democrat or a Republican. If you follow somebody, make sure it's because you truly believe in the majority of things they want to do. Okay? Make a list of things you don't like that they're going to do. Excuse me. And a comparison list of things that they want to do that you agree with. If one side outnumbers the other, you know where you should go. Because you can't, there's no such thing as a perfect president. There's always going to be a leader that's going to do some things you don't like. Okay? But what's more important is that they do more things for you that you do like. Okay? And forget about the other parts. Okay? Those things can be worked on later. But anyway, that's all I got to say. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So,
You piece of garbage phone! I got, there's a moose! There's a moose! He ran right out in front of me! Oh my god! I never, oh my god! Oh my god! Okay. Oh my god! Holy, I can't. One time I saw a baby moose, but that was like back when I was like 23. But like I never. Go on, buddy. Go on. Go. Get it back in the woods. Come on. Please don't wreck my car. Please. Come on. Go into the woods. Oh no. Don't just stand there. Go ahead. Go on. That's it. Get in there. Okie dokie.